politics, power plays, and more politics. Welcome back to Beyond the Bill Number, where we take you behind the legislative curtain to see who's pulling the strings and why. I'm Sarah, your guide to all things policy and plot twist, and joining me, as always, is Stephen, our go-to political analyst. Stephen, how's it going?
Hey Sarah, feeling good, ready to dive into this latest chapter of Florida's legislative drama. I've got my virtual popcorn ready.
Well, you'll need it. For those of you just tuning into this story, we've already covered the wild ride of Florida's immigration policy showdown, including the Trump Act, and no, it wasn't just a catchy title. If you missed it, definitely go back and give that episode a listen. But today, we've got an update, and spoiler alert, the story just got juicier.
Oh, absolutely. The political theatre in Florida has hit new heights. The legislature and Governor Ron DeSantis have wrapped up their third special session of 2025, and we're only in February. If that sounds like a lot, it's because it is.
Yeah, 3 special sessions before the regular session even starts. So, Stephen, give us the quick recap. How did we get from the Trump Act into where we are now?
All right, yes, quick refresher. So, Governor Ron DeSantis called a special session back in January to tackle immigration enforcement. The legislature, though, wasn't having it. They felt blindsided and responded by basically saying, we'll hand this ourselves, thanks. Enter the Trump Act, a $485 million immigration overhaul that took some serious liberties with policy, including mandatory death penalties for unauthorized immigrants convicted of capital offenses. Oh, and they proposed giving immigration enforcement powers to the Agriculture Commissioner, because nothing says immigration policy like agriculture.
I mean, nothing like fresh produce and federal enforcement under the same roof, right? But seriously, that bill set off a power struggle, and DeSantis wasn't shy about his disapproval. What happened next?
Right, well, he threatened to veto the bill, saying it was designed to fail and criticizing lawmakers for pushing their own agenda. But as the back and forth continued, DeSantis softened his stance. He started talking about landing the plane, which, as we all know, means striking a compromise.
And strike a compromise they did. The legislature came back for a third special session and managed to push through 2 new bills. So what did this compromise look like?
Well, the Trump Act is out, and in its place, we've got the catchily titled S0002 and S004. S2 creates the State Board of Immigration Enforcement, led by the governor and his cabinet, keeping enforcement firmly under the executive's control, just as DeSantis wanted. But it also establishes a council of police chiefs and sheriffs appointed by various state leaders to oversee immigration enforcement. And that does include the Agriculture Commissioner. Okay. Plus, there's a $250 million in funding, law enforcement training, and grants for local immigration programs.
So DeSantis gets his centralized power, and the legislature gets to say that they've done something on immigration. But not all of the Trump Act's provisions were left behind, right?
Oh, no, absolutely not, no. All of the key elements were there. S4 still includes the mandatory death penalty for unauthorized immigrants convicted of capital felonies, which is a major holdover from the Trump Act. The bill also imposes harsh penalties for unauthorized entry and requires mandatory minimum sentences of at least 9 months, just for being in the Sunshine State. Democrats have already called it unconstitutional, and legal challenges are almost guaranteed.
What about the Dreamers? I remember that there was something in the Trump Act about them.
Oh, yes, and that did make it into the new laws. So students without legal status will not receive in-state tuition rates at college, a real burden given how expensive it is to go to school these days. Senator Rosalind Osgood pleaded on their behalf during the debate, asking the Republicans to show compassion. After all, it's not the students' fault if they're undocumented, if they've been here all their lives. But Senator Randy Fines wasn't having it. He said, to call them dreamers implies that they have dreams and that they have ambitions that are greater than other people. There are 193 countries in the world. We didn't spare an oath to help the other 192. Nice.
Huh. Less of a dream, more of a nightmare. Oh, it is fascinating how what started as an immigration debate has evolved kind of into a power struggle and, these kitschy little things back and forth. This feels bigger than just policy. It's a shift in political landscape in Florida, right?
Well, absolutely. With DeSantis term limited and unable to run for governor again in 2026, this could redefine the state's power dynamics. It'll certainly shape the gubernatorial runs of the various candidates who will be throwing their hats in the ring very soon, really. It'll be interesting to see what their views are on this particular battle. The legislature has certainly shown it's willing to assert its independence, and it could set a precedent with future governors.
Yeah, and those legal challenges could mean that this isn't the end of the story. If the courts get involved, we might be back here for another special session, or at least another episode. So, Stephen, thanks for breaking this down.
Always a pleasure, Sarah.
And to our listeners, thanks for joining Beyond the Bill Number. If you haven't subscribed yet, now is the time, because with politics like this, you won't want to miss what's next. See you next time.